Welcome to another episode of ZoeTV, and today is a really great day.
It is a great
exciting day. We are going to be talking with Dr. Murray.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the most well-known naturopathic doctors, and he has written articles for our Zoe Life magazine. He's going to be on our university, and so we are so excited to meet him and talk with him.
Yeah, we are lucky. I've had the privilege of knowing Dr. Murray for a long time and his whole family, and it's one of these things when COVID hit, I reached out and we kind of had some dialogue and met about strategies and onboarding new residents and best practices, and Dr. Murray's perspective on COVID and just generally aging successfully and longevity, and he has a footprint in that space that is across the board, so recognized. So
well, he's done well with you. You're 82, right?
Yeah, I'm 82, and I look 75. So I mean, I'm doing
that's
okay.
Awesome.
So before we get to Dr. Murray, I'm going to break his bio down really quick for everybody.
Okay.
As you said, he's widely regarded as one of the world's leading authorities. He's co-author of a textbook of natural medicine, which is the definitive textbook on naturopathic medicine for physicians, as well as the consumer edition for us layman peons, the Encyclopedia of Natural Medicine, 6 million copies in print of all of his books and 5 million copies sold. Doc, you've been on Good Morning America, Dr. Oz, 2020, but being on Zoe Life's got to be the pinnacle of your career, I would say. Am I right?
Well, this is it. Well, anytime I'm interacting with you is a highlight of my life, so I'm very privileged today.
We all say that, so yeah. All right, so let's start with what would you talk to our residents about that are getting the vaccine and they are in the window between, some of them have gotten the first one, they're kind of anticipating the next 3 weeks till they get their next one. What would you recommend to all of them and to us?
That's right.
What we can do to stay strong, to stay healthy, and take this second vaccine, which we've heard some things about, and do it with the best possible results?
Yeah. Whether we're talking about the response to a vaccine or ability to fight off a virus in general, the principles are the same. Something that isn't stressed enough in conventional medicine is the role that our immune system plays in fighting off infections. And research also shows that the efficacy of a vaccine nutrition plays a huge role in that efficacy. So once again, the same principles apply. We need to strengthen our immune system. And there are a few things that I think are really important for everyone to do. Number one is, incorporate a health-promoting lifestyle, making sure you're getting enough rest and you're not engaging in any harmful health habits like smoking and excessive drinking, and you're eating well, eating a highly nutritious diet, thinking positive thoughts, and engaging in not only physical exercise, but also meditation and relaxation exercises. I also think that taking some foundational supplements are very important. A good high-potency multiple vitamin and mineral formula. And what I mean by high potency is one that provides the recommended daily allowance of all the essential minerals and vitamins. They're termed essential nutrients because our body needs them. It's just like a car. A car won't run if you don't have the key, or it doesn't have any gas, or the tires are flat. So these nutrients are absolutely critical to the functioning in our body, especially our immune system. Our immune system is highly active, and a deficiency of any nutrient can lead to impaired immune function. There's a lot of research right now with COVID-19 on the role of a few nutrients. Vitamin C, zinc, selenium, and vitamin D3 are the ones that have been talked about the most. vitamin D3 is really interesting. If we look at blood levels, and this is something I recommend for everyone to get done, is know your vitamin D3 blood level, because as it relates to this COVID-19, the research is really it is really strong and really compelling. When we look at the first studies that started coming out, we're looking at different levels of vitamin D and the influence that had on the severity of COVID-19, and basically when levels were below 20, there was a very high rate of critical and severe illness and deaths. But as we started getting that level up, and if we got it up over 30, then it was all mild cases. And since that initial study, other studies came out, and they correlated COVID-19 death rate with vitamin D3 levels. And basically, if people had a level below 20, it was almost a death sentence. They had a 99% risk of mortality. But if they had a blood level greater than 34, and the ideal level is between 60 and 80 nanograms per ml. So we're not talking about having an ideal level. Just if you have a level that's above the deficiency level, the mortality rate was 0 in these studies. So I look at this data, and I think I'm amazed a little bit, because we're talking about a supplement that is really pennies a day that could have, if this data, and I think it does bear truth, if this data is accurate, and I think it is, we could have cut the death rate by 90% just by making sure everybody had vitamin D3 to take. Not a very expensive stimulus package. We're giving everybody, $600 or $2,000. They're arguing about now a $10 bottle of vitamin D3 may have cut the mortality rate from 400,000 down to 40,000. And there's just, we in medicine, sometimes they wait until there's absolute proof before they move on it. And one of the great examples of that is, according to the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the greatest discoveries in the second half of the 20th century in medicine was the link between folic acid deficiency and neural tube defects. What people don't realize is that data was known for 40 years before it became accepted. And I think when we sift through all the data on COVID-19, they're going to say, boy, we would have really helped a lot of people if we had just made sure their vitamin D3 levels were okay. So that's one of my big messages today. But there's other nutrients that are important as well. So getting on a good vitamin and mineral supplementation program, high potency multiple is a good place to start. Extra vitamin D3, extra vitamin C, 500 to 1,000 milligrams per day. That's a solid approach to strengthening your immune system and making that vaccine more effective.
Wow, that is amazing info. We've kind of talked about the vitamin D element, you and I, offline, and that's what was so cool to have that piece in our last magazine, was the impact that vitamin D has. But to hear you talk through what could have been had that implementation strategy been in effect of across the board, vitamin D needs to be upped and everybody know what their level is. You just touched on the vaccine and how it can be, the vitamin D levels and the vitamins and all that you recommend can help that. As our campus goes through this process, like Kay said, about we're in the middle of vaccine 1, a lot of people have done that first one or waiting for vaccine 2. As you've spent your life in the naturopathic space, what are your thoughts on the vaccine as a whole? I mean, we all know that it was put quickly out. There's a lot of good scientists behind it. But what's your perspective on the vaccine? We are doing the Moderna here on campus, but with Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, these new ones coming, what's your perspective on that?
Well, it's a big experiment, right? And we just hope that it's all going to work out. I think there are three possibilities. One, the vaccine is just an enormous success, and it's just a godsend, and everybody's thrilled and happy. Number two, it's moderately effective, but we still have to pay attention to all the basic tenets of good health and building strong immune function. And number three, it's a complete disaster because it leads to some serious health consequences. I think the likelihood is it's going to be between option 1 and 2. I think it's going to be moderately effective, and there's going to be some side effects, but for the most part, people are going to do well with it. And but we still have to go back to helping people realize that their health is largely in their hands, and they can be proactive and make choices with their diet, their lifestyle, their attitude, and their supplement strategies that can really make a difference in keeping themselves healthy and living longer in a positive and powerful, strong way.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I am a huge advocate for naturopath doctors. That's who I've seen for years and years, and so I'm very diligent about my D3, and I get my levels, and they're way up there. So Steve and I have talked about, wow, how have we missed getting COVID when we're on a floor with people who've gotten it? And maybe it is. I mean, I really think there's truth to the fact of keeping our D3 up. And I know that you are a friend of Dr. Weil, and I love him. I have read his books forever also. So what do you, I know you both agree on your approach. So other than COVID, when we have COVID not topic of, everything we do and talk about, what do you recommend as a lifestyle? I mean, do you think plant-based diets? Do you think, I know you've talked about supplements, but what do you see as a way to keep from being sick, getting the common cold, getting the flu?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of some basic principles of good health, and we can adapt. Our body can adapt to a lot of different stressors and dietary choices. But I think there are certain things that are foundations for being healthy, and eating more plant foods is part of that. I was a vegan for 6 years, but for me, it wasn't the right path, and I think that there's an individual approach that has to be looked at. There's not one size fits all. We're a lot different, even though we share some commonality, but we're all genetically and biochemically different. And so we have some basic principles, and one of the basic principles of nutrition is that we get all the nutrients, all the building blocks that we need, and we can do that effectively with a plant-based diet or a Mediterranean diet, or a low-carb diet. I'm not a big fan of the keto diet for a long-term approach, but I think short-term it might provide some benefits. Long-term, it doesn't seem to actually extend people's lives, and there's reasons for that, very interesting biochemical reasons. But I think common sense really comes into play for a lot of our decisions regarding health, and I think that our anatomy and our physiology is really designed to take advantage of a diet rich in plant foods.
Yeah.
Well, that's speaking our language, because as we've talked offline in the past about ZoeLife and kind of our model of holistic wellness, the Mediterranean way of eating here on campus has really taken root. And being that our campus is comprised of 900 residents, many are Midwest blue collar farmers. The idea of eating a plant-based diet, Mediterranean diet, was foreign to them. It's the meat and potatoes crew. But as the last couple of years have evolved and our aging process has gotten really pretty active on campus, where people are walking more and they're active more and they're socially engaged and cognitively engaged, I really lean on that idea of eating healthier and that change that we've done on this campus with our dining options and just having more of that available to them has been key, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, variety, I think, is something that's really important in a diet. And, so many of us just eat the same foods over and over again. So I think eating a variety of different foods, taking advantage of what they have available to them through ZoeLife, and variety is a big part of that. Try new things, experiment, find new dishes that you enjoy. And portion size is really critical when we're talking about any food, whether it's carbs or whether it's meat or whether it's dessert. I mean, we can enjoy everything if the portion is proper.
Right. Yeah. Well, this has been a fascinating talk, man. I wish we could just keep going and going, but I think the vitamin D takeaway is huge. I think the supplement multivitamin is huge. But if our residents wanted to learn more about you and kind of what your stance is on not only COVID, but I know you're doing so much research on Parkinson's and so much longevity and aging.
Yeah.
What's a good way to look at your platforms on your website, or how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, my website is drmurray.com, and from there they can read articles that I've written. I've also done a lot of free webinars. There's lots of video on the site. So yeah, getting to my website is a great way to get plugged into my community.
Awesome. Well,
thank you,
Doc. We appreciate you, man.
Yes.
That's valuable information for our campus. I know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
All right, thanks, Doc. Well, that was exciting. Dr. Murray is incredible.
He is incredible.
But we got somebody equally incredible.
Yes, we do.
And one that everybody knows.
Right.
Our resident of inspiration, June Wang. June, how are you? You over in the Performance Center? You working out? You feeling good?
Very good. Good. I do feel good.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you look great.
You look great.
Thank you.
I know you are, and I know Gil is equally excited to get back in that Performance Center over the last couple weeks. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah.
Once you found out that you were the nominee for the Resident of Inspiration via Lois Ogun, what was your initial thought? Did it surprise you?
Yes, it did surprise me, and I thought just to what I'd said before. Somebody said they thought I was 95 and I was still walking, and I corrected them and said, no, I'm only 93, but I am still walking, and I've been doing this for years. When we lived in Phoenix, we were across the street from City Park, which had at one time belonged to Arnold's Pickle and Olive, and it was the olive trees that they harvested.
Oh.
And I would walk 2 miles most days after I quit teaching. So I was very honored to think somebody would think about that.
Aw. Well, you're an inspiration to this campus, and I think Lois echoed everything that everybody thinks about you. You're an inspirational person. Gil is, you guys, your relationship is evident everywhere you walk, but I just think that your story of everything about your relationship and what you bring to this campus is evident. How long have you lived here?
We'll have been here 13 years on the 28th of February.
Wow.
Wow.
So you've seen a lot of changes here on this campus, correct?
We have. In fact, the day that our kids moved our furniture in, we had gotten the keys the week prior. It was the day of the big auction, and the tent was set up out here in the parking lot, and people were swarming all over the place. And our son and sons-in-laws and grandsons all arrived with a big truck and brought our furniture. Our son is an electrical contractor and has his own business, so he has big trucks for delivering supplies. And they brought everything and unloaded it in one day, put the furniture in the places where we wanted it, and we were moved in.
Wow.
Well, we are glad you're here. So how long have you lived in Phoenix or Arizona?
I came out in 1945 to go to ASC,
Yes.
Arizona State.
Wow.
Wow.
And I was ready. I had just graduated from high school back in Kansas, because I grew up on a farm in Kansas, and I thought I would go to Emporia State Teachers College in Emporia, Kansas, and Dad said, no, I'm thinking about going to Arizona. Now, he was a farmer, but it was dry land farming back at that time. So in the winter, after the harvests were over, there wasn't a lot to do until spring. And my mother had a sister and 3 brothers in the valley. So that was what brought us this way.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Yeah, and so those olive trees, are you talking about the park at 28th Street?
Yes.
Oh, I love
Are you
that
familiar
place.
with that?
Yes, right across from Camelback High School.
Yes, it is. And our house, we lived in it for 52 years.
Oh,
And our
it's a-
house was right across, facing to the orchard, and then became a city park.
I still love that place. It's such a fun park, and the olive trees are so big now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so June, you were able to jump in with us early in the ZoeLife model, back in the early days of beta.
Beta.
How did you see? You obviously came in. You're active. You walk a lot. You and Gil came in together. What has been your perspective as you've worked your way through the ZoeLife model and done the working out and the university lectures and eating, and what's been your takeaways so far over the last couple years?
Steve, I think it's been wonderful. Now, we haven't gotten into as many of the university classes as I know that we should, but it seems like our days are full. we just have our time a little too tight sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're
Bill has a lot of health.
yeah, I know. But
So
we've talked before that from a
I
physical
drive-
standpoint, you've gotten a lot stronger, and your doctors have commented on your guys' progress on all sorts of different levels. Is that right?
that's absolutely true. Yes, they say keep at it, stick with it. It pays off.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So great.
we tell all of our doctors what we're doing.
yeah.
That's super cool.
It is inspiring.
All right, so you were nominated by Lois Ogun as her nominee, and I think we do this conversation all the time with the nominees of, what's special about it is Lois could have gone with so many different people on this campus. There's so many inspirational ones out there, and she, without hesitation, nominated you. And you are so special to her. Again, kind of, what's your thoughts on that? And then after that, tell us who your nominee is, who's going to be on this camera with us next week.
Okay, I'm very impressed. We met Lois through the men's Bible study because Jim was in that with Bill and Joel Eidness and the 12 men. And I admire Lois and the things that they have done and stand for. So I feel very honored to be nominated. And I want to nominate Betty Sidney, who's in our courtyard, and I see her out walking every morning between 6, or coming back every morning between probably 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. She's out walking.
Good for
And
her.
I admire her tonight.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think Betty Sidney is a great nominee. I know from talking to you, and previous to this taping, that was the name that you came on immediately, and obviously is special in your heart. And I can't wait to see who she nominates. I think that's the fun part that we get to do is kind of steer the ship around campus, and we never know where it's going to land. And to see it navigate through the courts and over to crossings and towers and back to the courts, and it's been a fun train to watch. And I think we're up to our 24th nominee. But Betty Sidney is a great one you picked.
That's wonderful. I thought about her. I chose her. I also thought about Ida Mae Bradford. But Ida Mae doesn't walk as much as Betty does, but Ida Mae has her garden. If you've ever walked down the area between courts 5 and 6,
Yes.
down toward out, Ida Mae has a wonderful garden area, and she's expanded it where now she's growing vegetables too. So I was torn between the two.
Well, you couldn't go wrong with either one.
No,
but
that garden's
I'm
beautiful.
excited for next week in that interview. So, Lois, on one final thought, as you've gone through COVID and you've experienced everything we have in 2020, with the last minute we have, what would be a silver lining from last year, and we've moved through to the point where we're getting the vaccine now, but what would be a word of encouragement to our residents?
Oh, I would say let's all get that shot
Yeah, yes.
so that we can open up our campus and get back to normal again and feel that we're safe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important.
That's great. That's great feedback.
I would agree. That's a great endorsement.
Yeah. All right, June, we loved having you on. You got a great nominee out there. We're going to be reaching out to her. She's, as all the nominees are, when you see it in real time on TV, it's so fun. But we're going to get her right where you are next week and be able to do this and keep this train moving.